हाय स्टूडेंट्स, वेलकम टू दी अकाउंटेंसी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन फॉर बोर्ड सीरीज। पिछली क्लास में हमने रिटायरमेंट ऑफ डेथ ऑफ पार्टनर्स के क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट किए थे। आज के पार्ट में भी हम उन्हीं को कंटिन्यू करेंगे, तो टाइम को ना वेस्ट करते हुए लेट्स स्टार्ट। क्वेश्चन नंबर 5। अशोक, बाबू एंड चेतन पार्टनर्स है एक फर्म में जिनका पीएसआर है 4:3:3। फर्म क्लोजेस इट्स बुक्स ऑन 31st मार्च एवरी ईयर। ऑन 31st दिसंबर मिस्टर अशोक डाइड। पार्टनरशिप डीड के अकॉर्डिंग डेथ ऑफ द पार्टनर के केस में क्या क्या चीजें दी जाएंगी। अशोक की कैपिटल का बैलेंस है 90,000, कब है 1 अप्रैल 2016 को। कैपिटल के ऊपर इंटरेस्ट जाएगा 12%। उनका शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट ऑफ द फर्म इन द ईयर ऑफ हिज डेथ विल बी कैलकुलेटेड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ रेट ऑफ नेट प्रॉफिट ऑन सेल्स ऑफ द प्रीवियस ईयर व्हिच वाज 25%। पिछले साल का हमें नेट प्रॉफिट का रेशियो दे रखा है 25%। करंट ईयर में फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ बिगिनिंग ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर टिल द डेट ऑफ हिज डेथ दैट इज 31 दिसंबर 2016 उसका हमें सेल कीमत है 4 लाख रुपए। तो प्रॉफिट हमें कितने 9 महीने का प्रॉफिट हमें 25% से कंप्यूट करके मिल जाएगा। हिज शेयर ऑफ गुडविल ऑफ द फर्म, जो भी उनके फर्म की गुडविल में उनका शेयर है वो मिलेगा। और ऑन द डेट ऑफ हिज डेथ गुडविल की कैलकुलेशन आई है 4.5 लाख। पार्टनरशिप डीड आल्सो प्रोवाइड फॉर द फॉलोइंग डिडक्शंस। कैपिटल में से क्या क्या माइनस करना है, उनकी ड्राइंग्स जो कि 15,000 है। इंटरेस्ट ऑन ड्राइंग 12% पर एनम जो कि 1,500 रुपए कैलकुलेट हो रही है। अब इस क्वेश्चन के अंदर सॉर्ट ऑफ फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स का क्वेश्चन है, इसलिए 4 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है। अगर ये फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स की फॉर्म में नहीं आता, पूरा आपको अकाउंट सोच के बनाना पड़ता, तो ये क्वेश्चन 6 नंबर के अंदर क्वालिफाई करता है। हालांकि क्वेश्चन के अंदर ऑलरेडी आपको एक आधा कैपिटल अकाउंट बना के दे रखा है, लेकिन फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ क्लैरिटी हम इस क्वेश्चन को पूरा अटेम्प्ट करेंगे। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट। सबसे पहले हम छोटे से जितने भी वर्किंग नोट बनाने हैं, लेट्स फिनिश अप विद द वर्किंग नोट्स। कैपिटल, ओपनिंग कैपिटल 90,000 गिवन है, 12% का उसके ऊपर इंटरेस्ट रेट है, लेकिन ये जो इंटरेस्ट है खाली 9 मंथ के लिए जाना है। तो 90,000 का 12% फॉर 9 मंथ्स, दिस कम्स आउट टू बी 8100। फॉलोड बाय उनका शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट। जैसे कि मैं बताया था कि नेट प्रॉफिट का जो परसेंटेज है वो 25 है। दिसंबर तक की सेल हमें 4 लाख दे रखी है, तो इसके हिसाब से जो प्रॉफिट निकल कर आता है वो निकल कर आता है 1 लाख रुपीस। अशोक का शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट विल बी अकॉर्डिंग टू हिज प्रॉफिट शेयर व्हिच इज 4/10, दिस कम्स आउट टू बी 40,000। फॉलोड बाय गुडविल। टोटल फर्म की गुडविल हमें ऑलरेडी 4,50,000 बता रखी है। अगर हम अशोक की शेयर ऑफ गुडविल निकालें व्हिच इज अगेन 4/10, तो दिस कम्स आउट टू बी 1,80,000। नाउ सिंस द न्यू पीएसआर रेशियो हैज नॉट बीन गिवन टू अस, तो हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ अशोक ये रेशियो कंटिन्यू करेगा, तो 3:3 व्हिच इज इक्विवेलेंट टू 1:1। और ये 90,000 रुपीस बाबू और चेतन अपने गेनिंग रेशियो में लाके देंगे। ऐसे क्वेश्चन के अंदर मेरा गेनिंग रेशियो एंड माय न्यू प्रॉफिट रेशियो रिमेन्स द सेम। सो दिस 1,80,000 विल बी ब्रॉट इन बाय बाबू एंड चेतन इन द सेम प्रोपोर्शन। अगर हमें नॉर्मल कैलकुलेशन करके देखनी है, तो अशोक, बाबू और चेतन, ए, बी एंड सी, इनका जो ओल्ड रेशियो में गिवन है इज 4/10, 3/10 and 3/10. Since Mr. Ashok is retiring, so it will be said that B and C will continue their new PSR in the same proportion, which comes out to be 3:3 or 1:1. This will be our new profit sharing ratio and this will be our gaining ratio. एक बार आपने सारी वर्किंग कर ली है, so let's begin. सबसे पहले हमारे पास जो ओपनिंग बैलेंस है, ओपनिंग बैलेंस हमें दे रखा है 90,000 का। इंटरेस्ट ऑन कैपिटल वी हैव ऑलरेडी कैलकुलेटेड 8100. Profit and loss expense account, that is the share of profit, comes out to be 40,000, and 90,000 will be brought in by the Chetan and Babu. The total of this side is 3,18,100 rupees. Now there are certain deductions which are given to us in the question. The first deduction is 15,000 for drawings and the 1,500 as the interest on drawing. So keeping that in mind, the balance to be given to Ashok executor comes out to be 3,01,600 rupees. The question requires you to make only the Ashok capital account. As I said, this question is of 4 marks only because the partial format has already been given to you. Had this capital account not been prepared, I would qualify this question as 6 marks. Otherwise, if the partial capital account has already been prepared, it will mark you around 4. It's a simple question. Let's continue with the next question. Geeta, Radha and Gar were partners in a firm जिनका PSR था 3:5:2. On 31st March 2009, their balance sheet has been given to us. If you look at the balance sheet, there is no odd item. On the above date, that is on the 31st March only, Radha retired. एंड उनकी रिटायरमेंट में क्या क्या चीजें डिस्कस हुई है। गुडविल वैल्यू की है 3 लाख रुपए की। राधा का शेयर विल बी एडजस्टेड विद कैपिटल अकाउंट ऑफ गीता एंड गर्ल, जो कि हम नॉर्मली करते भी हैं। स्टॉक को एप्रिशिएट किया जाएगा 20% से। बिल्डिंग वर फाउंड अंडर वैल्यूड बाय 1 लाख। इन्वेस्टमेंट वर सोल्ड फॉर 34,000। कैपिटल ऑफ द न्यू फर्म वाज फिक्स्ड एट 5 लाख। इस क्वेश्चन के अंदर जो यूनिक पॉइंट है वो है इसके अंदर कि न्यू फर्म की जो कैपिटल है वो हमने 5 लाख पे फिक्स कर दी है। तो जब हम कंटिन्यूइंग पार्टनर्स के क्लोजिंग बैलेंसेस निकालेंगे, तो क्लोजिंग बैलेंस हमें ऑलरेडी गिवन है, व्हिच विल बी इन द न्यू पीएसआर रेशियो ऑफ द पार्टनर्स। जो भी नेसेसरी एडजस्टमेंट करनी है हमने पार्टनर्स के करंट अकाउंट को ओपन करके करनी है। करंट अकाउंट ओपन करना है, इसका आपको पहला इंट उन्होंने फिक्स्ड बता के ऑलरेडी कर दिया है, बाद में बताना खाली फॉर्मेलिटी है। यू हैव टू प्रिपेयर रिवैल्यूएशन अकाउंट, यू हैव टू प्रिपेयर पार्टनर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट एंड द बैलेंस शीट ऑफ द न्यू फर्म आफ्टर राधा's रिटायरमेंट। एज यू कैन सी, दिस क्वेश्चन क्वालिफाइज फॉर 8 मार्क्स। So let's start. Again, before starting our question, let us prepare the working notes. First and foremost, we calculate the new PSR ratio. तीन पार्टनर्स हैं, गीता, राधा और गर्व. उनमें से राधा रिटायर हो रही है. Since nothing is given to us in the question regarding the NPSR, इसमें यह assume किया जाएगा कि गीता और गर्व अपने सेम proportion में कंटिन्यू करेंगे. So the new PSR ratio will become 3/5 and 2/5. और हमें एक और चीज पता है कि इस कंडीशन में गेनिंग रेशियो भी हमारा 3:2 की रेशियो में ही रहता है. सेकंड पार्ट कम्स फॉर दी गुडविल. गुडविल के केस में उन्होंने हमें ऑलरेडी बता रखा है कि टोटल गुडविल फर्म के 3 लाख रुपए है और इसके अंदर राधा का जो शेयर है वो 510 है, which comes out to be 3 lakh is the total goodwill of the firm into the share of Radha, which comes out to be 1,50,000. And this 1,50,000 will be brought in by the new partners in the gaining ratio of 3:2, which comes out to be 90,000 and 60,000 respectively for Geeta and Garv. Then comes the calculation of new capital. They have already given to us that 5 lakh is the new capital of the firm. And this 5 lakh will be shared between Geeta and Garv in the ratio of 3/5 and 2/5 respectively. If we follow that, Geeta share comes out to be 3 lakh and Garv share comes out to be 2 lakh. Once we are done with the working note, let's start with the revaluation account. The stock has to be appreciated by 20%. So stock has already been given to us as 80,000. If we appreciate by 20%, it comes out to be 16,000. Investment, जो कि किताबों में 30,000 रुपीज की आ रही है, we have sold it for 34,000. So it clearly shows a profit of 4,000. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज बिल्डिंग. बिल्डिंग जो कि बैलेंस शीट के अंदर 5 लाख रुपए की आ रही है, हमने वो अंडर वैल्यू है 1 लाख रुपए से. तो जब हम उसको करेक्ट वैल्यू पे लेकर आएंगे तो हमें प्रॉफिट होगा. नेक्स्ट, there is no other point regarding revaluation given to us. So our total of revaluation comes out to be 1,20,000. 1,20,000. इसके अलावा रिवैल्यूएशन अकाउंट के अंदर और कोई लॉस नहीं गिवन. तो जितना भी मेरा टोटल प्रॉफिट है 1,20,000 का, दैट विल बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड टू द पार्टनर्स के कैपिटल अकाउंट इन देयर पीएसआर रेशियो, व्हिच इज 3:5:2. दिस कम्स आउट टू बी 36,000, 60,000 एंड 24,000 रिस्पेक्टिवली. अगला स्टेप होता है हमारा कैपिटल अकाउंट बनाने का. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द कैपिटल अकाउंट. द ओपनिंग बैलेंसेस हमें बता रखे हैं 3 लाख रुपीस, 2 लाख रुपीस एंड 1 लाख रुपीस. सबसे पहले हमारे पास बैलेंस शीट के अंदर जनरल रिजर्व आ रहा है. जनरल रिजर्व हम डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेंगे ओल्ड पीएसआर रेशियो में, तो विच इज 12,000, 20,000 एंड 8,000. फॉलोड बाय रीवैल्यूएशन के जो हमने प्रॉफिट निकाला है, विच इज 36,000, 60,000 एंड 24,000 रिस्पेक्टिवली. उसके बाद जो 1,50,000 का गुडविल का शेयर था राधा का, दैट विल बी ब्रॉट इन बाय गीता एट 90,000 एंड बाय गर्व एट 60,000. Followed by this will be debited from the Geeta's capital account and Garv's capital account in their proportionate ratio. Let's do the balancing. Geeta entire share comes out to be 3,48,000, Radha 4,30,000, and Garv 1,32,000. The same will be written over here. So if we balance the amount, the loan amount comes out to be 4,30,000. The balance of Geeta is 2,58,000 and Garv is 72,000. But the point is, the balance has already been given to us, which we have calculated in the working note, which are 3 lakh and 2 lakh. So we have to do the differential entry by their respective current account. So in that case, 3 lakh capital has to be maintained by Geeta, but at this point of time, she is only maintaining 2,58,000. This means there is a difference of 42,000 which has to be bought in by the Geeta. And this has been given to us that this 42,000 will be bought in the form of current account and not in the form of cash account. Similarly, Garv has to bring in 1,28,000 through his current account. Now let's move on to the balance sheet. The balance of cash is given to us as 50,000, but 34,000 balance has been increased because investment has been sold. So the new cash balance comes out to be 84,000. The rest as per the revaluation. Stock at 96,000, debtors at 40,000, building at 6 lakh, current account at 42,000 and 1,28,000. And they are shown in the asset side because current account carry a debit balance. Total is 1,70,000. The total of balance sheet comes out to be 9,90,000. Similarly, the balance of creditor is 60,000. Radha loan account calculated as per her capital account was 4,30,000 and the capital account calculated in the working notes are 3 lakh and 2 lakh. The total comes out to be 5 lakh. The total of balance sheet is 9,90,000. Again, this is a good question for 8 marks. Let's move on to the next question. ABC are partners in a firm. Their balance sheet is given to us on 31st March 2019. Bills payable, creditors, general reserve, workman compensation reserve, their capital. Asset side shows bank, furniture, stock, debtors, and land and building. Now, we retired on 1st April 2019. A and C decided to share profit in the ratio 2:1. In this case, the new profit sharing ratio has been given to us. The following terms were agreed upon. Firm की goodwill is 30,000. Bad debt 4,000 were written off. The provision for title was maintained at 10% on the debtors. Land and building was to be increased by 1,32,000. Furniture was sold for 20,000. The payment was received by check. Liability toward workman compensation estimated at 1,500. B was paid 20,000 through check and the balance was transferred to his loan account. In this case, be very sure you do not have to prepare the new balance sheet, but what you have to maintain is the bank account. This question also qualifies for 8 marks. So let's start with the question. First of all, we'll create some working note. We have to calculate the gaining ratio first. The new ratio of A comes out to be 2 by 3 and C comes out to be 1 by 3. Now, if you notice in the question, the profit sharing ratio of old partners is not given to us. Nowhere it tells you what was the profit sharing ratio before B retirement. So in that case, we have to assume that they were equal partners. That is, the ratio would be 1 is to 1 is to 1. So in that case, old ratio of A comes out to be 1 is to 3 and C 1 is to 3. And as you can clearly see, C new ratio is also 1 by 3 and old ratio is also 1 by 3. So there is no gaining for the part of C. But on the other hand, A is gaining in the ratio of 1 is to 3. This means that because B is retiring, A is the only gaining partner. Once we are done with it, let's start with the revaluation account. The land and building has to be increased by 1,32,000. The balance of 1,20,000 is already given to us. So what 12,000 would be the profit. Now provision of doubtful debt. Now this is an interesting point. The balance of debtors has been given to us as 45,000 and there is a 5,000 provision already made on them. They have told us that 4,000 is a bad debt. So 4,000 will be knocked off from the debtors. So new debtor balance is 41,000 and this 4,000 loss will be reduced from my provision. Now they have also told us that the provision of doubtful debt has to be maintained by 10%. So 10% of 41,000 comes out to be 4,100. But 1,000 rupees balance has already been maintained. So in short, we have to maintain an extra balance of 3,100. So by that, provision for doubtful debt comes out to be 3,100. And furniture which was with us at 28,000 has been sold for 20,000. This means there is a loss of 8,000. Considering all the balances, the profit for the revaluation comes out to be 900. And since we have already discussed, the NPSR ratio is 1 is to 1 is to 1 for the old form. The profit comes out to be 300, 300 and 300 respectively. Once we're done with the revaluation account, let's move on to the capital account. We'll start with the balances, which are 60,000, 40,000 and 32,000 respectively. First and foremost, the general reserve balance will be distributed, which is 30,000. Considering the TSR ratio as equal, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 will be given to all the partners. Then, the goodwill has been given to us at 30,000. The retiring partner B share comes out to be 10,000. And since A is the only gaining partner, so this 10,000 will be brought in by the A. For the workman compensation reserve, the balance is given to us as 6,000. 1,500 is the liability toward the workman compensation. This means we have an excess balance of 4,500, which will be distributed among the partners in their old ratio, which is 1,500, 1,500, and 1,500. Then we have the revaluation profit of 300, 300, and 300. Another thing which is given to us is that 20,000 was paid to the B immediately. So the 20,000 will be paid to the B. The remaining will be transferred to our loan account. Balancing the capital account gives us the closing balance and the loan amount of B. Once we are done with the capital account, let's move on to the bank account. Since there is no balance sheet requirement for the question, so we'll stick to the requirements. The opening balance of bank is given to us at 20,000. Another thing, the furniture has been sold for 20,000 and B has been paid 20,000 immediately. This gives us our closing balance 20,000. This wraps up our question number 7. It's a good question, but the chances of it coming again is very slim. Let's move on to the last question. Akul, Bakul, and Chandan, they were partners in a firm sharing profit in the ratio 2 is to 2 is to 1. On 31st March 2018, their balance sheet was given as follows. There is no unique item in the balance sheet, so we'll move on to the adjustment. Bakul retired on the above date, that is on 31st March. Kind and machinery were undervalued by 10%. Provision for doubtful debt was to be increased to 15%. Furniture was to be decreased to 87,000. Goodwill of the firm, which is valued at 3 lakh, and the Bakul share were to be adjusted to the capital account of Akul and Chandan, which is normally done. The capital of the new firm was to be maintained in the new PSR ratio of the containing partners. We have to prepare revaluation account, capital account, and the balance sheet. Now, the difference between this question and the previous question, where the balance was given to us, is that in the last question, there is no amount of capital is given to us. That is why this question is unique in its own. So let's start with the question. Again, before continuing, let's prepare our working notes. The first and foremost, we have to calculate the new PSR ratio. Now, Akul ratio is 2 is to 5, Bakul is 2 is to 5, and then is 1 is to 5. And Bakul is the retiring partner. And since there is no information regarding the new ratio, so we'll assume that the proportion of the old ratio will be maintained. So new ratio comes out to be 2 by 3 and 1 by 3 respectively. And the same will be their gaining ratio. Second, what is the capital of the new firm? That will be considered when we have done the partner's capital account. All we can do is prepare the goodwill account. The goodwill has been given to us at 3 lakh. So Bakul share will comes out to be 3 lakh into 2 by 5, which is 1 lakh 20,000. And this 1 lakh 20,000 will be bought in by the Akul and Chandan in their gaining ratio, which is again 2 is to 1. So this is 12 lakh into 2 by 3, and Chandan share is 1 lakh 20,000 into 1 by 3, 80,000 and 40,000 respectively. So let's start with the revaluation account. Plant and machinery is undervalued. We have to bring it to the appropriate level, which turns out to be 20,000. Again, with the calculation of provision for doubtful debt, the provision is already maintained at 2,000. What we have been told is the provision for doubtful debt was to be increased to 15% on debtors. So by 60,000, 15% comes out to be 9,000. But since we are already maintaining a balance of 2,000, the only thing which we have to do is to increase it by 7,000. Finally, furniture has to be decreased to 87,000. It has been given to us as 90,000. So the loss comes out to be 3,000. Again, balancing gives us a profit of 10,000, which will be distributed among Akul, Bakul, and Chandan in their TSR, which is 4,000, 4,000, and 2,000 respectively. Continuing with our partner's capital account. First and foremost, let's bring down the balances as given in the balance sheet: 1,60,000, 1,20,000, and 92,000. Then there's a balance of general reserve will be distributed among the old partners in their old ratio, followed by the profit of revaluation, which has been calculated above, and the goodwill. The goodwill which is bought by Akul at 80,000 and Chandan by 40,000. The same will be taken from their capital account, 80,000 and 40,000 respectively. Balancing the capital account gives us loan account comes out to be 2,52,000, and the balance of Akul is 92,000 and Chandan is 58,000. Coming back to our working notes. Now, the new capital of the firm has been assessed as 92,000 and 58,000. So total capital of the firm comes out to be 1,50,000. Considering our profit sharing ratio of new firm as 2:3 and 1:3, this 1,50,000 will be maintained by Akul and Chandan in the same proportion, which is 1,00,000 and 50,000. This gives us the closing balance of the new firm. Carry forward balance will be 92,000 and 58,000. The closing balance has been found out by 1,00,000 and 50,000. So as we can see, Akul has a deficient of capital, so he will bring in 8,000. On the other hand, Chandan has an excess of 8,000, so he will withdraw the same. Once we are done with the capital account, we'll move on to the balance sheet. Now the bank balance has been given to us as 42,000. If we consider the amount of cash bought in and amount taken out, the amount will again come back to the 42,000 because the same amount which is taken out by one partner has been introduced by the another partner. The balance of debtor, which is 60,000, now the provision has increased to the 9,000. So the new remaining balance is 51,000. Stock, which is 80,000, furniture revalued at 87,000, and plant and machinery at 2 lakh. The balance of assets comes out to be 4,60,000. Similarly, creditors, the balance is 45,000. Employee Provident Fund is 13,000. Bakul loan, that is as per his capital balance, is 2,52,000. And the capital of Akul and Chandan, as per our working note, comes out to be 1,50,000. The total is 4,60,000. Now, this question is unique because the calculation of new capital is different. So, if there is no amount of final capital has been given to you, so you have to first find out the new capital of the remaining partners. The combined will become the total firm capital, and that combined capital will be distributed among those same partners in their new PSR ratio. This ends our question series part of retirement and death chapter. Very soon, I'll come out with the dissolution of partnership firm important question series for part 1 and part 2. Till then, if you like my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Please share it with your friends if you find it interesting. Thank you so much.